Welcome to the deep dive. We've got a set of sources here detailing a really shocking event, and our goal today is basically to cut through the noise and distill the immediate facts, the context, around a mass shooting on St. Helena Island, South Carolina.
Yeah.
What really jumps out from the material you gave us is this constant contrast the reporting makes. This place described over and over as idyllic, and then this horrific violence.
That contrast is absolutely central, I think. It's the lens we need to use here. We're aiming to pull out the raw, immediate facts, the casualty numbers, and look at those first accounts from officials, from witnesses about what happened at Willie's Bar and Grill. It's really just an immediate snapshot of a tragedy.
I mean, the scale of it. It just demands immediate focus, doesn't it? We know right off the bat, 4 people confirmed dead right there at the scene.
Right.
And at least 20 other people injured. I mean, that figure alone, 24 people hit by gunfire in one place, it's just devastating. It really grounds everything else in these sources.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Those numbers are the baseline when we talk about distilling the info. 4 dead, 20 plus injured.
Yeah.
But we need the context around them. The initial reports really zero in on the location, Willie's Bar and Grill, on St. Helena Island.
Right.
And it's important to keep that description the sources use, idyllic island, in mind, because it just highlights how suddenly, how violently that expected peace was shattered.
Okay, let's unpack this a bit more. Let's talk about the specifics. Willie's Bar and Grill, St. Helena Island, South Carolina. That's the spot.
That's the spot, described as idyllic.
And the timing. The reports all say early Sunday, which isn't, a Tuesday afternoon. It suggests a weekend crowd, maybe late night, maybe closing time, peak hours probably.
That busy timing likely connects directly to those high casualty figures, doesn't it? A crowded place.
Yeah. Well, it means more potential for people getting hurt.
Yeah, makes sense.
If it was packed, like you'd expect early Sunday morning at a bar, the chances of stray bullets hitting people, injuring many, alongside maybe specific targets, it goes way up. So that high number of injured, the 20 people, that strongly suggests it was a packed scene.
It really does.
And if we break down those numbers even more, the sources add this layer of grim uncertainty right at the start. 4 people found dead, yes. But then there's this crucial detail about the injured.
Makes that.
4 of those 20 injured people were reported to be in critical condition in hospital.
Ah, critical condition. That's vital information. It means the tragedy wasn't over when the shooting stopped, not really.
Exactly.
Critical implies life-threatening injuries.
So for a while there, the potential death toll wasn't fixed. It was hanging over everything. That must have just ramped up the pressure, the anxiety for everyone involved, medical teams, the community.
Absolutely. And it also points to the immediate strain on local resources, hospitals, investigators, everything.
Yeah.
And maybe we should pause here just quickly before we get into the scene itself to mention what the sources didn't say, at least in the initial reports.
Sure.
Officials hadn't released the names of the victims yet, right? That's pretty standard procedure in the immediate aftermath. They need to notify families first, control the information flow, while the investigation is still, very active and under pressure.
Okay, so let's shift focus now from the sort of static facts of the casualties to the actual scene. The dynamic, incredibly chaotic reality law enforcement walked into. When the Beaufort County Sheriff's deputies first got to Willie's Bar and Grill, the sources paint a picture of just overwhelm.
Yeah. What's fascinating here is how the source material really conveys the sheer pandemonium. Deputies didn't roll up to a quiet scene after everything was done.
No.
They walked right into basically a disaster zone still unfolding. The material says they found a large crowd still there.
Still at the scene.
Still at the scene, and several people suffering from gunshot wounds. Right there.
That phrase, large crowd, just tells you so much. Law enforcement immediately has multiple jobs, right? Rescue, crowd control, securing a crime scene, maybe trying to figure out who the shooter was. All at once?
It's absolutely a multi-layered emergency. And the sheriff's office statement, it gives this really chilling insight into the terror of the moment itself. It describes what people were doing.
Okay.
This is where you get the best feel for just how immediate and terrifying the threat felt to those people.
How they reacted in that instant.
Exactly. They specifically noted that multiple victims and witnesses ran to the nearby businesses and properties seeking shelter from the gunshots.
Wow.
Just think about what that implies.
Yeah.
It's not just people running away. It paints a picture of widespread chaos. Survival meant getting out, getting hidden immediately.
Running to nearby properties. That tells you the gunfire must have felt sustained, or at least the threat did. It wasn't just one shot and done.
Precisely.
It was something that made everyone in that bar scatter into the surrounding area, just desperate for cover.
And think about that from an investigator's point of view, too. People scattering like that, while totally understandable for survival. It means potential evidence gets trampled or lost. Witnesses disappear before they can be interviewed. Piecing together what actually happened becomes much, much harder.
Right.
The fact the sheriff's office actually highlighted that detail in their statement shows they knew how much complexity that added to their job right away.
And that complexity, that chaos, it leads us right into the official response, how authorities, political figures tried to communicate what happened to, a completely shocked public, mostly using social media, it seems.
Primarily, yeah. The Beaufort County Sheriff's Office used X, the platform formerly known as Twitter,
Right.
to get that initial statement out. And they were clearly trying to manage expectations while still stressing how serious this was.
They set the tone right away, didn't they? Acknowledging the community's shock, calling it a tragic and difficult incident for everyone. That validation of the shared trauma, that's often a crucial first step.
It is. And their main procedural message was clear. We need time to figure this out. They explicitly asked the public for patience as we continue to investigate this incident. Which signals, this is complicated. It probably involves multiple locations because people ran everywhere. They're juggling a lot of information, a lot of evidence.
And besides the procedural stuff, they did include that necessary human touch, closing by sending thoughts to all of the victims and their loved ones. It felt like a very carefully balanced statement.
It did, acknowledging grief, but also managing the ongoing operational needs.
Yeah.
Now, if you look at the wider official reaction, the political response, it immediately reflected that same shock, but maybe with a slightly different emphasis.
Yeah.
You see that in the statement from U.S. Rep. Nancy Mace, also on X.
Her language felt much more focused on the emotional weight, right? Using all caps for emphasis.
Exactly.
She wrote she was completely heartbroken to learn about the devastating shooting in Beaufort County.
Yeah, it's a distinct shift from the sheriff's more operational focus. Yeah. Representative Mace's statement is really about kind of rallying the community, expressing solidarity and grief.
Right.
And underlining the horror by calling it a horrific act of violence.
She also offered prayers for the victims, their families, and everyone impacted. And that phrase, everyone impacted, seems important. It acknowledges that something like this, with 24 casualties, the ripple effect goes way beyond just the people who were physically there at Willie's. It hits the whole community. St. Helena Island.
Absolutely. And the contrast between those two statements is actually quite telling. When you look at the sources, you've got law enforcement saying, essentially, bear with us, this is tough, and the political representative saying, this is horrific, we share your heartbreak.
Both necessary responses in that moment.
Definitely, but serving slightly different needs.
Yeah.
Managing the process versus validating the emotion.
It really paints this picture of a community just instantly under siege. Medically, logistically, emotionally.
Yeah.
So what does this all mean? As we've kind of synthesized this material, we've drilled down on the core facts. 4 people dead, at least 20 injured, 4 critically. We know the location, Willie's Bar and Grill, on that island described as idyllic, which just amplifies the shock.
Right.
And that immediate aftermath was just defined by chaos. A large crowd scattering, people running for cover in nearby properties. The sheriff's report really captures that vividly.
We've seen how the sources lay out the scale, meticulously, and then the immediate response. Law enforcement trying to contain it all, officials trying to manage the public's grief and fear. This wasn't some quick, contained thing.
No.
It was a mass casualty event that demanded an instant, huge, and frankly, agonizing response.
This really brings us to a powerful final point for you, the listener, to think about as you process this material. The sources deliberately set the scene, didn't they? This idyllic South Carolina island.
They did. Repeatedly.
So when you hold that image up against the reality, 24 casualties, people fleeing into the night, the ultimate takeaway here is just how brutally, how quickly large-scale violence can shatter the peace of any community. Doesn't matter how isolated it seems or what its reputation is.
Yeah, the material forces you to confront that idea, that sanctuary, that sense of peace. It's often more fragile than we think. It can be broken instantly by a horrific act of violence, as Representative Mace put it.
Yeah.
And it really prompts you to think about the long-term impact on a place like St. Helena Island, a small community defined by that perceived tranquility. How does it even begin to absorb a trauma this big? How does that change its identity? That's the unsettling question these sources leave hanging in the air.